Hi, it's Lenneke from Len's Crafty Life, and I wanted to share with you what I made for a challenge on Facebook from Dear Julie. Now, she does have a YouTube channel as well. I'll pop the link to her channel below this video. If you're watching this in the Facebook group, sorry, I made this video for my YouTube channel, so you can skip through the first part. But let me just show you. It was like a challenge where you had to use only 15 items from your stash. So it was kind of like a use up your stash challenge. Now, the only 15 for me, being quite new in junk journaling, was quite a lot. I kept finding things like, oh, I haven't used that yet. Oh, I haven't used that. Oh, I can add that. So to me, the 15 was actually quite a lot, and I had to keep thinking of ways to include those. So before I actually show you what I made, let me just very briefly and very quickly go through the 15 items that I used. Now, I used a Thomas Kinkade calendar, and I have several of him, and I always kept them because I absolutely love his way of painting. He's called Painter of Light, and you will be able to see in my journal why he's called that, because he's very good at making like darker outside and have like the light here kind of showing through, and also through trees. You'll see that on the images that I've used from the calendar. It was a 2013 calendar in my journal. So that was item number one. Then this was one item. The items had to be like the way you bought it. So this was one item that I bought, and it had several of these very pretty and shiny ribbons in it. You can see some of them I haven't even used. So this was one item. This is another item. And actually, I should have taken one that already fringed, had like a fringy edge. Because you can see I used it on here, and I had to make the fringe by myself, which took a bit of time, but that's okay. But this would be nice for stamping on, and I haven't even done that. So then that was item 3. Item 4 was this sticker book, and there's lots of stickers in here. And oh, I need to sneeze. Let me see if I can prevent that. Then I used a scarf, so this very pretty material. Then I used some pearls. I used some washi tape with, I hope you can see that, it has like butterflies on there. Very pretty. I used some labels. Lost count now. I used a stamp set. For those who have seen my picture in the Facebook group, I first had like a stamp set with little letters, but I decided to swap it for this stamp set. This stamp unfortunately didn't survive. I managed to use it 3 times in my journal, and it totally fell apart. So, and this stamp I was very happy with as well. So, because I used some die cuts. Die cuts were all free to use, and I had a ticket die cut, and this stamp fit on it perfectly. So this was a great set. I've used this one a lot. Those I haven't even used, but you will see that in my journal. I chose some old Dutch ledger paper, which was great to use. Found that in a charity shop a while back. I use this Prima paper pad for a lot of things, for making tags, and was great for background. This is a Dutch book. It basically says Treasures from My Garden. It's from Maria Hofker-Reuter. And I used a lot of these images. I wanted something to go with the Thomas Kinkade, but not, I wanted the focus to be on the Thomas Kinkade images. So it is a Thomas Kinkade journal. Then I used this photo book that I basically most of these items I got at charity shops, and this had quite some sturdy paper, and of course it had these oh, something's falling off my desk here, too much stuff. Yeah, I've used them all here, like these papers, these in between. It's almost like a vellum or parchment paper, so I use those to make some kind of look-alike glassine bags. And then I use some coffee paper. Now for the coffee paper, the paper was one item because you have to buy the paper, and the coffee was also one item because of course you have to buy the coffee. So those were my 15 items. All your tools were free to use, like glue and inks and, you know, those kind of things were free to use. Later on in the challenge you got some extra items free to use, like some of these ribbons over here. You could pick 4 times 24 inches of that. You could choose 4 game pieces, and I chose 4 of these. And you can already see one that I altered on here. So made some kind of buttons out of that. And you could also include 4 cards, which are in there as well. So that was the basic of the challenge. Then you also had to have 15 certain items that she wanted you to make and include in your journal. So for me, being quite new, a lot of these items were new. I'd never made a tassel before. This was one of the required items that had to be in your journal or dangling from it, basically. And of course I couldn't add charms or things like that because those were not one of my chosen 15 items. So I used some of the material from the scarf in it, lots of those ribbons, some of the extra 4 laces that you could choose. Then you could choose yourself how big you wanted your journal to be. So I chose to include 4 signatures, put them in by hand. So this is the front, and this is a flower that I cut out from the scarf. This is the altered little game piece that I went over on with StazOn. StazOn is, as far as I know, the only ink that goes on non-porous surfaces like vellum or plastic. This is a plastic game piece. I put a little bit of book paper on there. Over that, to mute the book paper, I had that kind of like look-alike vellum or from the photo book, and then again a bit of this trim that I used on it, and I put one of the little pearls in there, so that makes a great flower center. Now these are again some of the 4 extra trims that I used, and that's the back. And I just love these images from Thomas Kinkade. This is the front of the calendar that I used, and you can just about see here Painter of Light. So I guess if you Google Thomas Kinkade or Painter of Light, you will get to him and all his beautiful calendars he makes. Now let me put this down and let's go through it. This was one, here you can see calendar 2013 that I used. I left that on there just for reference. If anybody wants to know what I've actually used, that's what I used. This is one of the required items. This is a double bank envelope with 2 inserts, and I never even knew of the existence of a double bank envelope. So I used some of the paper out of my book that I chose, and this is the Prima paper. I decoupaged on it a little bit, the butterfly from the washi tape, some ledger paper, some bits of leftover scraps from the calendar. I made this. My punches were also free to use. So, and that's the back. That goes in there. And then here as the other inserts, I made a tiny little booklet. And of course on the back of the calendar you have these small images of small pictures that will tell you what's in the calendar. So I've used one of those. And here I've used some coffee dyed paper and some ledger paper to make a tiny little notebook. So that goes in there. It's kind of like a floating pocket, but I popped it in here. This is envelopes weren't required to make, but I always like envelopes, so I used the Prima paper for that, and I used a bit of the napkin on there. You had to use a napkin. Those were one of the extra items apart from the 15, and that you needed to include, and you had to make a collage page, which we'll get to later on. and you had to make 4 items with napkins, so that was one of them. Now die cuts, as I said, were free to use, so I used a doily die cut here on the ledger paper. Sticker from the sticker book. This is another page from the book I chose. This is one of my favorite things. You had to add like one of the 15 things that you had to do with the items that you chose is to make something that you like to add to journals. And I always love these fabric flips. So that was my favorite, thing that I'd like to add. You had to make a top tuck with an insert. This is my insert with some paper, coffee dyed paper here. From the vellum, I'll call it vellum, not sure if it is vellum, but from the vellum from the photo book I made a little, with a die cut, a little bag. And this is a little card with the Prima paper, and again some napkin decoupaged on there. So that goes in there. I fear this is going to be a long video. Feel free to skip forward if you get bored or go to something else. So this is one of the stamp comes from a stamp set. You had the few items that you got for free, so excluding or separate from your 15 was a stencil. I chose this stencil from Tim Holtz. These are some, I use these as stencils as well. These are from when I cut out from the Prima paper the butterflies and some flowers, and I use this as a stencil as well. This was the stamp set that I got for free. This is a bit of junk mail that you got for free, and there were a few other items like 4 paper clips you had to alter, but we'll get you those when we go through the journal. So next page, this is again a vellum page from the photo book and some of the ribbon. This is, I have to remember all these names now. This is a flip flop because it flips open. It's called a flip flop. And you had to include some extra journal space, and the flip flop had to go over the edge of the page and make a tuck spot on the other side. So this is again a vintage card that I added, and this of course is one of the calendar pages. Here I used the stencil. Here I use that the stencil that I made out of the cut of flowers. This is the back of the calendar image, and it's like a large calendar, so you have to flip up the calendar pages to get to the next month. So of course you can probably kind of see the print of the calendar. The dates are upside down. Not sure if you can see that through there, maybe just a bit. Sorry if my light goes shaky, it sometimes does that on white pages. But I went over it with gesso and some ink, vintage photo ink, to just make it a journal page. And here you get the middle of the first signature. Now, one of the required items that you had to make was embellishments for your signature ties, and I used the punch, the flower punch and the butterfly punch. And again, this is the Prima paper, and I inked around the edges. And this is one of these beautiful images. You can, maybe you understand now, if you don't know Thomas Kinkade, sorry for the glare there, why he's called Painter of Light. It's just, he's just so good at making this kind of like an evening scene and the light coming through the windows, just the way he paints it. And he paints it in a very detailed way. I just absolutely love it. Here again, I think I made this a tuck spot. Yes, this is a tuck spot. Let me just use this piece of paper. This is a tuck spot. You could tuck something under there. Again, a little flower, and I put on a pearl. More of the stamped, stenciled and stamped images. You had to make, oh, this is a tuck spot as well underneath it here. This is a large tag. You had to make 4 large tags. So this is the first one. Again, I stenciled on there. And this is basically an A5. It's an A4 fold in half, so it's an A5 sized journal. This is one of the 4 paper clips that you had to alter. So I made this one. I think it has a little pocket. I think that idea I got recently from G. Kerr. I'm sorry if it was somebody else, but I think that's where I saw it first. And this is these are the tags, the die cut again on the Prima paper. And here you can see the tiny little stamp that I told you about fits on perfectly. So I use it twice here and 3 times on the other side. I think that's really, really cute. I'll pop that back later. Here again some vellum and a sticker from the sticker book here. A piece of the Thomas Kinkade calendar, and I put this sticker on. Oh, sorry for the glare. And this is a flip up with several papers. The ledger paper, coffee dyed paper, and some paper from the book that I've used. And this is another way that I made a top tuck spot, and this is another very vintage card that I put in. This is again one of the so-called buttons, these red things that I altered, the game pieces. I die cut I cut a doily from some ledger paper, and then I thought, well, I was inking the edges, and I thought, well, let's just use that while I'm at it. Sorry, just have to blow my nose. I thought while I'm at it inking the edges, I may as well ink the edges on a page and use it as another stencil. Because that was the whole point of this, you know, journal, to use things and make them stretch. So this is a piece, another one that you had, the other thing that you had to make was to use an envelope with a window, a privacy envelope. Now this is actually quite a large one. We'll see it was like an A4 sized or slightly larger than A4 even. And I collaged on it, but then later I noticed that I was not allowed to use one item for the other thing that you had to make. So they had to be separate. So I collaged on this, and then I noticed that, and then so I have my collage page as a separate page further down in the book on the back flap actually. So yeah, I had to use a privacy envelope with inserts. So these are very large journal cards or photo cards, and it goes behind that window. This is again an envelope tuck, a page tuck with a little sticker from the book, from the sticker book, and here as well. It's very cute. Then this, you had to make I think this was one of the other requirements, to make like a side flip tuck, whatever. I think that was one of them. So this is the tuck, and I made again a kind of a glassine bag out of that photo paper, vellum, whatever, glassine. I don't think it is proper glassine, but I live in the Netherlands, so not sure what a proper glassine bag looks like. But I did some decoupaging again with the napkin. This was one of those 4 napkin items, and I chose this image from the calendar to make a little journal card or photo card. I think it has to go this way. Yeah, like that. This I used some stickers. This is from the other picture book. I used some stickers on there. And then this is the second large tag that I made. This is also the second paper clip, and I use this, it's like an envelope paper clip, and put some ribbons on there. So I'll put that back in later for time's sake. This is another tuck spot. Yeah, with some book paper. This is where I use that very pretty oval frame shape. I love this page. I think it's very pretty. So it died. I need to get a new one. This is another page fabric flip. Not required, but my favorite item. On the gessoed back of the middle of the second signature. I have 4 signatures in here. signature embellishments again. Beautiful page. And here again, just the way the light comes through. And here the dappled shade. It's just amazing the way Thomas Kinkade can paint. He's not alive anymore, unfortunately, but he was an amazing artist. So use the doily again. Here, this is another embellishment with the napkin. This is a strip of one of the pages from the calendar. More napkin embellishments here and here. This was another of the 15 things that you had to make. It was a, oh, I'm not sure what it's called anymore. I think a double envelope. What's it called? Let me just see. I don't even know what you call this. These were, oh, double tuck with 3 inserts. This was all the things that you had to make. Double tuck with 3 inserts. That was new to me. So made an envelope out of the Prima paper, so it's glued down in the middle, or the back flap. So you have one pocket here. And again, this was a small image from the back of the calendar. They have these tiny ones, and then one is enlarged. So this was the one that was enlarged. Then these are 2 other pockets. And I made these like bookmarks to go in those pockets. And I put some extra pearls on there, some washi tape. More stamped pages. This is the 3rd large tag, and I attached that to a page. I made it another flip, and I made another glassine pocket and a journal card. This basically I did with another die cut. Die cuts were free to use. So that's the Prima paper and a piece of paper on top of it from the calendar. It's another flip. Some of the laces that we were allowed to use. I love this. It's just the lines are from, I dried this on an oven rack. Another collage page with a little piece of doily and some ledger paper on the back of the 3rd center page. Again with the embellishments. Put a little stick on here to write on, and a little bit of the lace on the side. More sticker. This is the 4th paper clip, and I think the 3rd paper clip. I lost count now. Can't count anymore. Can't even count till 4. Never mind. Please forgive me. This is my 3rd card. One of the extras that you could add, and this is, well, you can see that I don't need to take it out basically. This is the altered paper clip, so put like this banner on it and some of the ribbon. Just goes like that. And of course you can tuck something underneath here on this side as well. Some more stamping. This was another requirement. This is a flip up, flip down. Sorry, I have to remember all these things. Flip up, flip down with an insert. So this is the insert. Little tag with leftover paper from the Thomas Kinkade calendar. And here you go. This flips up and this flips down. That's why it's called a flip up, flip down. And this kind of flips open, so you can journal on there. And this is actually paper from the white paper from the photo paper. And I went with, I absolutely love this effect. So this is not the Prima paper. This is, I did that myself on white paper from the photo book. And it was like the vintage photo, and I put it on my work mat, my glass work mat. I sprayed on it with water because it was the distress ink pad. And then I just moved my paper through the ink, and this is the way it came out, and I absolutely love it. I think it's the first time I did that. I stenciled on it, put a little sticker on it. So I think that came out really, really nicely. This is another little tuck spot here. And another one of these pretty stamp pages. This is the other side of the large privacy envelope that I used with another large photo mat or journal card with a bit of napkin collage on it. You spot the little duck here. And this is the other side, just an image just glued on the back of that envelope. And then we go on to the last signature. Another napkin embellishment. This is tag, large tag number 4. And this is a little tuck spot as well, just here. And that goes here in this little pocket. Here I stamped on or stenciled on the little flower. Another sticker there. Here's another sticker. This is also a top tuck from the doily from the ledger paper, and this one as well. Yep, that has to come down. Some more. I love this. First time I did this. And this is again the back of the center, another center page. The embellishments. And this is a very pretty image again as well. I think you get the gist why he's called Painter of Light. It's beautiful, these lanterns. It's just all so real. And the light coming through the windows. It's so gorgeous. This is another of the glassine bags with another tag, and this is one of the other buttons, or so-called buttons, the game pieces that I made into a button. This is a tiny little flip, fabric flip from the scarf. Just thought that would be nice. Here's some napkin embellishment. This is not a tuck spot. I just glue that on there. More sticker, another one of those pages. This is the 3rd page, so and that was the end of the stamp. This is another top tuck spot with a bit of the fabric from the scarf and a doily cutout with the ledger paper. This is another journaling card. This is the last altered paper clip. So I just made it like that. This is the back. And this is an envelope. Oh, let me just... So this is the back. It has another, the 4th card. And this envelope comes right off, all the way off. And it has like a little journaling card. Oh, I still have to... I'll round off the edges and put some vintage ink, vintage photo ink around that. Still have to do that. Sorry, forgot that. Then this is some more of the book paper, and this is the last page. This is what counts as my collage page, so it's on the inside of the cover. And this I decided to put in one large kind of like poster, and again very obvious why Thomas Kinkade's called Painter of Light. I keep saying it, but he is just, or was just, so good at that. I absolutely love this image. And I love the house. I've always wanted a house with a little tower. Maybe in my dreams. So, and this on the back side, again, I put gesso on it. And went over the edges with vintage photos. So you can journal on this or put even a photo on there. So when you fold it up, just like so, you can even, you know, if you have a photo on here, you can put it in here and see the photo. But just for now, I put it in like that. And that's the back. So thank you for hanging in there. This is my finished entry for Dear Julie. Julie's June, just, what was it called? Just June 15, or just 15 June junk journal. Just June 15 junk journal, something like that. JJ15JJ. That was the abbreviation. So there you go. This is it. Thanks for watching. I really enjoyed it, although this was a very large project. I'm not sure when I will do such a large project again, but I learned a lot, and I think it turned out really pretty. So thanks a lot for watching, and have a great day. Bye bye.